Hello, hello, everyone. This is Clelia Pergola. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the New Jersey Elder Law Center at Goldberg Law Group. I'm also the author of a book called The Law Firm Revolution, as well as Life Lessons and Legacy, which is the book I'm most proud about, is how taking care of my grandmother changed my life. And I know most of you here are either caregivers or were a caregiver or will be a caregiver, unfortunately. So I really can speak to you with experience. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about who is a caregiver. So, the definition of a caregiver it's evolving and it's changing, but for this conversation in particular, a caregiver is can be paid, they can be unpaid. It's a person of someone's social network who helps them with the activities of daily living. So since they often have no specific professional training, they are often described as informal caregivers. So a majority of the people that are caregivers are taking care of somebody with dementia. The majority of them are 85% of them in particular are cared for by a family or friend. So more than, I think it was 15 million, that's right, 15 million Americans are caring for a person with dementia, and the majority of them are taking care of their spouses or partners. So approximately 2 out of 3 of them are women, and are 34% are over the age of 65. So, it's really important to understand who a caregiver is, because a lot of people, I have a support network on every other Monday. And this group, there's a gentleman that said he moved his wife into an assisted living facility and said to the group, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I'm still thinking like a caregiver, and I'm not." And it's actually not true. I'm a mom of 2 boys, and just because my children are at school does not mean I'm not a mom. So just because his wife is at an assisted living facility, it does not mean he's not a caregiver. He's still worrying that she's getting the right care. Is she be, does she have the right attention? Is she being cleaned and fed and all of those sort of things? So these are some um, charts and really impressive graphs and studies that people have done, so you can see how the numbers are growing year after year, decade after decade. And uh, it just, the diversity of it doesn't, it hits all of us, no matter where you come from or who you are. So the statistics, you can see some of them, 67% of caregivers don't go to the doctor. I know that when I took care of my grandmother for 6 years, I attempted to go to the doctor. I always had passion in this area, but fortunately, or I should say, unfortunately, my health, it took a toll, just because, I mean, you were just so involved in taking care of your loved one that needed the attention by professionals, by healthcare professionals, that you didn't mean to do it. You just kind of lost focus. So it's important, I know that we care about our loved ones, but what do they say on an airplane? Put the mask on yourself before anyone else. So you have to take care of yourself. So, consequences of caregiving. So we talked about the health component of it, but there's the physical health, right? The heart attacks, the things that are sort of obvious, but then there's also the anxiety, the depression. If you have an underlying diagnosis, or lack thereof, bipolar and such, it makes things very difficult for you to take care of your loved one. So you can imagine how it can affect you on top of all that stress. So, also financially, financially, it's hard because you are your early retirement is probably not going to be an option. Your reduced income, I mean, let's talk about expenses. Your loved one needs to have certain things in place, whether it be their legal documents, their home, if they're aging in place, um, handrails, chair lifts, all of these things. Some of them, yes, are covered by insurance, private insurance. Some of them are covered by Medicare. Not all. It's very important. So, funny story is my grandparents, off the boat Italians, third grade education. My grandfather was a mechanic. My grandmother was a homemaker. And they just kind of assumed that, well, they were honest people. They were hardworking, honest people. And somebody was going to take care of them. And by that someone, they didn't think us. They thought it was going to be the government, right? They were like, well, we paid into it. We paid into Social Security. We paid into Medicare. We paid into all of these things. But unfortunately, these things, uh, they don't pay for everything. Now, one program that does is Medicaid, but and Medicaid is a great system. I ended up, I wouldn't say great system, but a good system. You keep your loved one at home. You can have up to 40 hours of care. And then they'll pay for the chair lifts and food coming to the door and all the durable medical equipment that's needed. But you have to be impoverished. So that means you have to spend all of your money to apply for the benefit. So, uh, you know, that is something that can stress out caregivers. Okay. So, seeing and making sure that these options are available to their loved one and that they're not going to make the wrong decision is tough. And unfortunately, people don't plan, they're not proactive, they wait for a crisis to happen. So, at the firm, we see a lot of people that come to us not too late, but later. And as Clelia Pergola, the caregiver advocate, I am lucky enough to have conversations with people about the next steps. But um, I also get to interject the strategies, the financial and legal strategies that are available to them and get them at the early stages when they're diagnosed, when they go into a hospital, when they're being discharged from a rehab. So I'm lucky in that sense. But um, so let's go back to the caregiver. And, there are multiple stresses. There's financial, there's health issues, there's emotional issues. It's difficult. The financial stressors, you're trying to work, you're trying to manage your life. And people that, most people, the average person, especially in the tri-state area, lives paycheck to paycheck. It's the unfortunate truth. And they're trying to raise their families. And now there's this added stress that comes to them with, juggling their job and managing their own health issues and obviously emotionally a huge emotional toll it takes on you. I lost my grandfather. He had a pain on his side. He went to the hospital. This is a man that never n- never had a bad day in his life, always smiled, always sung Italian songs, to the point where my grandmother wanted to throw objects at him, and he was screaming in pain. And within 4 days, he passed away. It was something that was shocking and devastating. And then you have my grandmother went into the hospital, had a pulmonary embolism, and had a 6-year decline of uh, hospitals and home care agencies and selling my childhood home and applying for Medicaid and dementia in the last few years. And here I am talking to caregivers and telling them, you know, teaching them that sometimes it's not that the person's forgetful, it's the beginning stages of dementia. And I was in denial. And so the realization, the emotional toll that it took on me, I don't know what was worse, losing somebody instantaneously without any warning, or a 6-year decline, and kind of the preparation of, that you're going to lose this person. So, you know, like I said, you're a lot of people, if you're a business owner, if you might see, your team, somebody on your part of your staff stepping out to take phone calls, or running out to doctor's appointments, or something happened with my mom. I ask that, you sit down and you have a conversation with that person, and vice versa. If you are that person that is always trying to juggle everything, and you can see and feel that it is affecting your job, or affecting your marriage, have the fierce conversation, because you're going to end up somewhere. Number one, your employer can't fire you because you're caring for your loved one, especially when you are telling them, and have an open dialogue. I mean, maybe you can come to some sort of agreement, or maybe they can just be aware and supportive of the fact that this is what you're going through. And you never know. Remember the slide in the beginning is, you either were a caregiver, are a caregiver, or will be a caregiver. So chances are they've probably been a caregiver and they understand. So 40% of the caregivers, they suffer with the emotional stress of it all. And so it's important that, while therapy and all of the other avenues, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you. It is important that you take a look at your own situation as a caregiver and understand that you should be kind to yourself, because you are doing an amazing job. And if nobody tells you that, I'm telling you, nobody asks to be a caregiver. Nobody trains to be a caregiver. You are just thrown into it. And it is a thankless job. So, uh, the so if you take a look at the size, there's an average number of years caregiving for older adults, that spend caregiving. So the challenges of caregiving, is feeling like you've been spread too thin, not knowing where to turn, or some loss of control. Uh, you're limited doing daily tasks because you're getting interrupted, or being pulled away, even by the thoughts of, oh, is the assisted living taking care of my mom or dad, or aunt or uncle, or grandma or grandfather? The feeling of loneliness. So that's what the caregiver support group of mine does. It is past and present caregivers that are like-minded individuals. It is not if you can imagine, I am Clelia Pergola, I am a caregiver, I've been a caregiver for my grandmother 6 years. It is not like that. It's, you come in and you talk to people and you listen to their stories. You're not forced to say anything, and you will see that you are not alone. There are other people that are going through similar, sometimes better, sometimes worse situations. And it puts things in perspective, and you could jump on once and never jump on again, or jump on once a month, even though it's twice a month or every other week. But the idea is not to feel alone, and not being able to leave. Going back to the challenges, is not being able to leave the person that you're caregiving for alone for a second. I remember not thinking to myself that I have to go see my grandmother once. Um, what was it? It was 5 days out of a week, or she would die. It was like the Italian curse, which obviously didn't exist, but in my mind it did. So, and it's real, right? Like, even though that doesn't exist, and while you fear to leave your loved one for even a second or whatever your situation is, that's your realization. And people have to understand that. So, listen, caregiver burnout, it's real. Okay. Overall, caregivers of relatives with mental disorders, they experience many psychological, physical, social, economic problems and challenges. So it's important that we be kind to each other. So, cost. What is the cost of caregiving? So you're there again. I love these studies. Okay. So I'm always impressed when I attend other people's, webinars, and they have all these charts and graphs and research. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put it on mine. And well, you know what? The studies, I don't know who's doing these studies, but it doesn't seem accurate to what I've experienced. They seem a lot lower. So hired home care can cost, in the study, anywhere between $200 to $350 a day. So the average cost, what they're saying in New Jersey for an assisted living facility, is $6,500 a month. I have seen the average be more like 8,000. It's obviously much higher than the national average, which is 2,800 per month, but nevertheless, that's what it is. It's through Genworth's cost of care survey. So um, hopefully it's accurate. But like I said, one private room in a nursing home is $290 a day. And a semi-private room, okay, in New Jersey is $10,646. So that is an annual average cost of, 89,000, somewhere between 89 and 100,000. So a lot of people now, their loved ones, the generation that is aging right now, they don't have much, right? Their biggest asset is their home. And I know a lot of people here, well, maybe I should put my parents' home in my name. Don't do that. Speak to a certified elder law attorney. There are reasons not to do that, but you can protect home, you can protect assets, but it's hard. And what do children do, or family? They dip into their own pocket. So that's where it's financially devastating for caregivers, because they dip into their own pocket. And listen, daughters, son-in-law, stepchildren, grandchildren, all of those, they're not eligible for the Family Medical Leave Act. So it's important that you seek professional advice before you start dipping into your own pocket, or God forbid, losing your job, so on and so forth. All right, so where does a caregiver go for support? There are a million places I can tell you. I would say, if you're here now, feel free to reach out to me, and I can at least point you in the right direction. I don't charge for my phone calls. Feel free to reach out to me. But I will say, it's the industry, the elder care industry is very supportive. Okay. So talking about solutions. So there are state agencies, there's nonprofits, there's home healthcare agencies, geriatric care managers, educational programs that are out there for caregivers, to provide support, not only financially, but emotionally. These are all amazing solutions for you. What are the options when you aren't able to stay home? So there are assisted living facilities and there are nursing homes. It all depends on what level of care you are at. So I would, if you're, how can I put this? So if your loved one needs help bathing, toileting, dressing, transporting, all of those things, they're probably in need for a nursing home. Now, I say probably because with COVID, things have shifted a little bit. The assisted livings are taking on more, and they're able to take care of a higher level of care. It's going to cost more, but you're in an assisted living facility. The way that I could best describe it is, number one, assisted livings are not one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. Okay. They are not the old school nursing homes. They are these beautiful buildings that look like hotels. Some of them are hotels that have been renovated and have chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Nursing homes are now the same. They are modeling the assisted living facilities, and the only difference is there are nursing stations. There's locked, both assisted living and nursing home both have locked units. So if your loved one is a roamer, if they have dementia and they aren't necessarily a flight risk, but with people with dementia, seeing the same surroundings, having the same schedule is very important. So that's for another conversation. But the locked areas follow those sort of protocols and procedures. They understand how to help somebody with that sort of diagnosis. Regardless, I would talk to a certified elder law attorney. Okay. They're the coach of the Super Bowl team. Okay. Have been practicing for over 6 years. They have taken a vigorous test on top of the bar. They have to submit a certain amount of cases to prove that they know what they're doing. So that's the difference between an elder law attorney and a certified elder law attorney. So listen, tips to staying healthy: exercise, eat healthy, self-care. The best form of staying healthy: laughter. Find somebody who makes you laugh and hang out with them a lot. It's the best medicine. You want to try to make sure that you stay social, get outside, practice mindfulness, and find a great, which collaboration is all about, is finding your support network, family and friends that are there for you no matter what. Okay, I'm going to put some resources on the screen right here. There are some phone numbers. I have worked with each one of these organizations. They are amazing organizations. If anyone needs any particular conversations or advice, I'll have my contact information at the end. But these are, you want to write down, they're respite grants. So they are grants if you need a break, okay? You need a couple days, you need a week. Maybe for your loved one to try out the facility. Uh, Again, these organizations live, eat, and breathe seniors, and most of them with dementia. So that's my grandmother. She unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but this was a couple of days before she passed away. But I believe that I am her legacy, and you all listening to me, helping you as a caregiver, is her being here with us today. So I really want to thank you all. Uh, this is my contact information. You could also find me on social media. I will message you back immediately. And if you need anything at all, please reach out. Have a great day. And thanks for being here.